following program comes from executive producer Lillian Garcia. Every athlete is on this quest. Every performer dives in head first, battling real-life challenges and overcoming obstacles in an effort to make their dreams reality. Singer, songwriter, 15-year WWE host Lillian Garcia was the first woman to ever announce WrestleMania. And the first to launch her own podcast, which gives you an all-access pass to the human interest stories of elite athletes and extraordinary entertainers. Now, let's embark on another fascinating journey of chasing glory with your host, Lillian Garcia.
'Tis the season. Here we are. Welcome, everybody. Chasing Glory, and it is the holiday season. It is upon us. And I don't know if you're like me, but I love the holidays. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. I love all of it. And especially, I want to tell you guys one thing. This just came to mind, and I want to help anybody out there that has lost a loved one over the holidays. I actually lost my father 2 years ago on Christmas Day, and I got to say that now I celebrate even bigger. I celebrate it in his honor. I'm going to love this time. And I know that there's a lot of people that when they've lost loved ones over the holidays, they refuse to celebrate. And I'm hoping that right now, this is, like I said, very impromptu that just came to my mind. I hope that by me telling you that it's okay to celebrate, that you will honor them even bigger. That's why I decorate even bigger. I feel my dad's spirit here. So welcome to the holidays and welcome to Chasing Glory. Thanks for following me at Lillian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter, and Lillian Garcia official fan page. Also the show itself at Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram. I really appreciate if it's your first time listening to us, you know what? Just a big fat welcome. And it's about time. You got a lot of catching up to do. And if you're returning, I can't thank you enough for continuing to follow the show, for subscribing, for reviewing, for rating the show. Thank you for the 5-star rating. And just so excited that Chasing Glory is making impacts everywhere, all over the world, making headlines. Guys, we were recently on New York Post, Miami Herald, Up Rocks, OK Magazine, Star Magazine, TV Insider, Radar Online, National Enquirer, and so many other places. And everyone is talking about the show and talking about the concept of the show and getting to the real heart of the people and their stories and the chase for glory. And I'm just really grateful for the way that this is spreading wildfire, but it's because of you guys. It truly is. It's because of all of you that are telling the next person, because I can put this out all day, but if you don't tell your friends all about it, then it doesn't get anywhere. So thank you for spreading the word. And hey, want to let you know that Cameo requests, they are up, and I am doing something for the holidays. I'm giving you guys 20% off. Now, what the heck is Cameo? That is a platform where people wanted me to wish their loved ones or friends, all that good stuff, like a happy birthday or happy anniversary or something like that. So I found a platform to do that. If you go to cameo.com/Lillian Garcia, remember that Lillian is spelled with one L in the middle. And Cameo is Cameo. If you go to that, cameo.com/Lillian Garcia, then you can put in a request for yourself or for your friends. This is a perfect gift. I've been filling orders like crazy and having so much fun with it. Yeah, for even ring announcements, any kind of thing that not anything, but you'll see. I pretty much accept just the fun request, all right? And for now, until December 24th, you get 20% off the price. And all you have to do is use the promo code Lillian20. Lillian20. And remember, that's Lillian with the number 20. All right. So go to cameo.com. Also want to thank FabFitFun for being here and for sponsoring the show, because they're bringing this show to you for free. And I know some of you don't know what FabFitFun is. And the ones that do, you have been sending me so many messages thanking me for telling you about it because you're loving it. Yes, I love my personal box too. What this is that 4 times a year, you get a subscription box. And in that subscription box is like over $200 worth of product. And it's amazing product. It's like lifestyle, fashion, beauty, and fitness. You can either custom make your box or you can just let it be a surprise. You know, there's few surprises in the world, so sometimes that's the way to go. And for you ladies out there, if you get a box, then you can also get a men's box as well. So you guys out there listening to this, you can get a box for your females as a present, and then you will be eligible to get a box for yourself. And I'm telling you, these are state-of-the-art products on here. Top designers, top beauty products that are eligible for you. And you guys are going to get a special because normally the box is $49.99, but remember, you're going to get over $200 worth of product. But for all my Chasing Glory listeners, you're going to get $10 off your box. So it's only going to be $39.99. That is amazing. And you can just mark it off your Christmas list as to what to get your loved ones. Right now, just go to fabfitfun.com. That's FABFITFUN.com and use the promo code GLORY. That gives you $10 off. Fabfitfun.com, promo code GLORY for $10 off. You're going to love this one. For guys, you're going to love it. For the women, you're going to love it. And for any of your loved ones, they're going to love it. And make sure you post a picture by hashtagging FabFitFun. Send it to me. I want to see it. All right. FabFitFun.com, promo code GLORY. All right. So this is obviously airing on Monday today, but I had to record it before I actually went to Puerto Rico. Now, what the heck was I doing in Puerto Rico? I was actually participating in Mysterio Mania. I got the call to be a part of this, and I was so excited because my parents were both born in Puerto Rico. I know the effects of the hurricane and what has happened there, and they're still suffering. So this is to raise money for all those victims. So I was very, very honored to be called and to participate in Mysterio Mania. I got to sing the national anthem at the very beginning of the show and then announce the main event. Very, very cool. Like I said, it hasn't happened for me, but it has happened for all of you. It's like I'm back in time, but I'm in the future at the same time. Pretty neat. All right. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody in Puerto Rico for making me a part of the show and for inviting me. And anytime that I can do anything like that, you guys call me up and I will be there. Hey, and speaking of Mysterio, yeah, Rey Mysterio last week. Amazing, right? Incredible guy. I always say it. Rey is just good to the core. He's just a heart of gold, so talented. His stories, I can listen to his stories all day long, just so insightful. And I love that he gave Chasing Glory the very first interview since returning to the WWE. So thank you, Rey. And it got picked up everywhere because Rey actually revealed a lot of things as to why he originally left WWE, what he has left to do here, what it means to have his son actually now training. And yeah, just a lot of insightful things about the way he grew up too. And his size, he could have let his size. Can you imagine a world without Rey Mysterio and wrestling without Rey Mysterio? No way. So thank you, Rey, for not listening to the haters and the fact that they were telling you that you weren't big enough, because you are perfect. Your size has been so beneficial. It's been so inspiring. So I appreciate you coming on Chasing Glory and telling your story. And this leads me to our amazing guest today, Aleister Black. He has made such an impact in the WWE. And when I say that, at NXT, and before he even reached NXT, he has been wrestling for 14 years around the independent circuit. So Aleister is somebody that lives and breathes wrestling. He absolutely loves it. His background is amazing. Wait till you hear his bio. Incredible. I got to meet Aleister when we were overseas, and you guys are going to hear all about that. And I got to know somebody that I was very intrigued by. And this interview gets very deep, very deep. Prepare yourself for that. But, you know, it lets you into a mind of someone that actually got exposed to something at 9 years old and how that has affected him. And also, like, even social media, how that affects him. You know, we're all dealing with social media and, you know, how to deal with the negativity that's in social media. I mean, it's great. There's a lot of positives, But man, there's a lot of negative stuff too. And we all have to deal with that. We are not made of stone. And any of you out there that are throwing hate out there, please rethink that. I don't know what it is that you might be angry at, but don't take it and lash it out at somebody you don't even know. That's crazy to me. But anyway, I love how real, vulnerable Alistair gets, how just he's an incredible person that shares so much of his journey. So Alistair, thank you so much for coming on Chasing Glory. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is Alistair Black's journey of Chasing Glory. From Tommy End to Alistair Black, the professional wrestling world has never seen anyone quite like Tom Budgen. He would grow up learning all types of martial arts, including kickboxing and a unique Indonesian martial arts called Pencak Silat. He was able to incorporate his one-of-a-kind background with his pro wrestling training under the guidance from current NXT superstar Cassius Ohno and WWE commentator Nigel McGuinness. As Tommy End, he would quickly make a name for himself all over the European wrestling scene, and before no time, the American audiences would get exposed to him through promotions such as Combat Zone Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. After 14 years of wrestling all over the world, Budgen would sign with the WWE and reported to NXT, where he would become known as Alistair Black. After weeks of anticipated hype, Black would make his victorious debut at TakeOver Orlando against Andrade Cien Almas. He would receive many NXT year-end awards, such as Rivalry of the Year after his classic match with the Velveteen Dream at TakeOver War Games, as well as Male Competitor of the Year. He reached the pinnacle of the promotion when at NXT New Orleans, he defeated Almas to become the NXT champion. The journey for the Netherlands native is far from over as he takes the entire WWE into blackness. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Alistair Black. It's truly happening. Welcome, my first NXT guest, actually. Oh, Alistair Black.
I'm the first.
You're the first NXT guest.
I'm honored. Thank you very much for having me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the first NXT superstar to be on your show.
As a matter of fact, I was going to tell you when I booked you, and then I was like, nah, just save it. Just save it. Save it from when we're sitting here talking.
Get the authentic emotion from it. Yeah, no, I really didn't know that.
You know, I've interviewed, obviously, people that have come from NXT once they've gone into the WWE, but I haven't interviewed anybody that has actually been in the NXT, like, currently. And when I was like, I have to make this happen.
Sure.
And then I was looking at the roster, I'm like, I want you. You know, it was really cool getting to meet you at the overseas when we were doing the Download Festival. Yeah, it was really neat that I was called to do that and to come and sing God Save the Queen out there after the tragedies that had happened. And it was WWE's way of feeling like we just want to show we care, which was really cool. But it was really neat for me because I really haven't had that much of an influx with NXT and and obviously, like, I knew Drew McIntyre and certain people. But getting to meet you guys there in that situation and then, being on the bus with you and all of that, it was like, that's really cool,
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't know why. You were one of the people that I gravitated to in that whole thing. Instantly, I felt like we could talk. And so again, I wanted to definitely do this interview. You've intrigued me, though, from that very start. There's something mysterious about you. It's very intriguing, though.
I think it's. I think that's what people associate with a certain look, and obviously I have a certain look.
Yeah.
And if you're not conventional looking, whatever that might mean actually, but if you're not conventional looking, people want to know why you don't fit the mold, and I think sometimes people will go like, well, that's not my cup of tea. And then there's people like yourself who are like, why do you look the way you look in a positive way? And I'm also not as hard to approach as some people might think I am. I'm not at all.
No.
I always try to make time for everyone. But I think that's also something that's one of the things that people think when they see you and you look a certain way, like, oh, this guy must be this or this guy must be that, and I'm anything but.
Doesn't it drive you crazy sometimes? It's like that instant judgment, right? People look at something, go, like you just said, they're instant judgment.
But I also think that is how society is formed. We're very visual. We're very into how something looks, how appealing certain things look or not appealing. Like everything goes through our eyes before they go through our minds. So,
right. So you were Tommy End. You actually wrestled for a long time as Tommy End.
Yeah.
Tell me the transformation between Tommy End and your Aleister Black character now.
So there is a considerable amount of content to what made Tommy End and what makes Aleister Black, but there's a lot of like similarities. I sometimes feel that like Tommy End shed his skin and became Aleister Black. I truly feel that in WWE, Tommy End could become Aleister Black. I needed that transition. So when I started out in wrestling, you got to start somewhere, and you either start by being the good guy or the bad guy. And there's a couple of cliches that follow that, where it's like, you come out to the people and, you wave your hands and you make a strong fist, like, let's get this guy. And, you're automatically seen as the good guy because that's the energy that you resonate towards an audience. And the flip side of that is you come out and you look a certain way and like it's, these people, and people automatically assume that with, you're the bad guy. And we can all do that to an extent, but I think I was in 7 years and I just didn't resonate with the crowd. I didn't click. And I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, but it's because it's not authentic. This is not who you are. You're not either the yay guy or the boo guy. That's just not who you are. Like, you come from a different background and you come from this tiny speck in the world called Amsterdam where there's not a lot of wrestling at all. I was a big fan of hardcore music growing up, the hardcore scene, like black metal, and that especially the hardcore scene is very much positive, and it's very much, okay, we might not look like you, but it doesn't mean we can't be successful. And I've always had
that. I didn't really know that. Well, that's cool.
Sure. And it's what resonated with me because I never felt like them.
Yeah.
Like I never felt like, okay, the 9 to 5 mentality, that's me. I never felt that like some of those norms are just not what make me me. Like the idea that I had to spend the rest of my life behind a desk and not being able to express myself the way I wanted to express myself, that sounds, to me, that's torture. Like if people,
me too.
Well,
just so I can agree with you.
And like, if people out there, like, they do love that,
then,
more power to them. It's just like, it wasn't for me. And I found that in the hardcore scene where it was like, you can express yourself and you can be you, and there's a message and it's positivity and it's like one for all for one. And I love that. And I have throughout life, like, developed this like natural cynicism about myself where I kind of look at everything with a magnifying glass and, a bit skeptical.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
But wait a minute. Now you kind of, you talk about positivity, but then you talk about skepticism. That's opposite.
But skeptical doesn't have to necessarily be like a negative thing. I think if you allow yourself to second guess certain things and look at things from a distance, you don't immediately run into something blindfolded.
Okay.
So that's a positive.
So you're kind of like being more careful.
Yeah.
Careful. Okay.
And like I said, there's a lot of layers to what made the Tommy End character. And I started like putting all that stuff where I was like, you were not, your average kid, and you were not listening to, regular stuff. You weren't doing regular things, so why are you trying to be a regular person, even in something that's so strange and so dynamic as professional wrestling? And I developed this character basically like an anti-hero. I called myself the anti-hero, Tommy End. And from the moment I did that, that's it. Now we've got it. And I had something, and people started to like recognize it a little bit more, because at the time it was also something, professional wrestling, especially back then in Europe, was a little bit more of a subculture. Like it's not as mainstream as it is in the United States or in other countries. In Europe, especially at the time, it was very like subculture. And the people that were drawn to it were also people that were invested in subcultures. Hardcore is a subculture, black metal is a subculture. Just basically alternative scene is like, it's kind of subculture-esque. Yeah. And that crowd immediately was like, that's our guy. And it didn't matter if I was trying to be a bad guy or a good guy, people just got it.
Yeah.
And because people got it, I started making a name for myself, and promoters started to take notice, and we went from Germany to United Kingdom, Poland, Italy, France. The ball just started rolling. Went to Japan, went to North America for a couple of times, and it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and all because I made that change. And then somewhere down the line, I made another change because I always had a fast interest in religion and the occult, and what were the dynamics behind that, and because of that. I started implementing a little bit more darkness into the character, and it became a little bit more cult leader type-esque, and it started even resonated more, and people started like, oh my God, this is what I need to be. And I feel that everything I've done as Tommy End was setting myself up for Aleister Black, if that makes sense. It's
Who came up with Aleister Black, the actual name?
It was a collaboration between myself and Triple H.
I love it.
We started shooting names back and forth. And I think he saw what I was trying to do. Yeah. And then he shot me a name, and I said, like, I don't hate that, but can we put it in these letterings, and can we put it this way? And it came out to be Aleister Black, and he's like, that's it. That sounds good to me.
No, it's bingo. It like really resonates. And it's true. I always tell, it's funny because I always end my podcast, be yourself and trust that it's enough. Mm-hmm. Always be yourself and trust that it's enough. Sure. And that's exactly what you just did. You actually transformed into, this is who I am. So early on, because I had heard that you were actually scared of the dark for a really long time.
Yes, very frightened, like paralyzing fear of the dark.
It's so funny. I went through the same thing. Even sometimes walking at night, and it was really, really dark. My mind would wander into like the darkness of like 100%. What the horrible things that could happen. Yeah. Where did all that come from? Do you remember?
I think just like reading too much about stuff that I shouldn't be reading about. Like I said, I had an interest in the occult, and brought forth by things from my childhood and conversations with my grandfather.
Interesting.
It's just like, sometimes when I have to put under words what made me, I don't even know where to begin sometimes. Yeah. And it's just like, it was one of those things where I was like, I need to stop reading about this stuff because it's literally terrifying me to death. Yeah. I was like 8, 9 years old at the time. Wow. And I'm reading about like government conspiracies, and I'm reading about experiments, and I'm reading about hidden documents, and like cults, and wow. Yes, and like all these like weird types of worship and like devil worship, and I'm frightening the hell out of myself with this stuff.
That's a lot to take in.
As a 9-year-old, that's not. Yeah.
Did you ever talk to Drew McIntyre? Because he was talking about how when he was a kid, he wrote into like the FBI. There's certain things that they have to send out, and he literally wanted documents. I don't know if you've ever had this conversation with him, but when I interviewed him, he was talking about how as a kid, he would go to the FBI and he's like, I want these documents, I want this. And they would mail them. They were all blacked out. A lot of things were blacked out. But you guys should have a conversation.
We should definitely have I did not know he did that. But like in a different context, I was like reading the same stuff. I was...
because he was reading conspiracy things.
Yeah, same. And it just frightened me because like, it really opens you up to what the human mind is capable of. And if this stuff came out to be true, like what horrible beings human beings are and what they're doing to one another. And it was just frightening. A lot of it was frightening. And I had a vast interest in like ghosts and stuff, and like cryptozoology, and like it just like every topic that was like not normal. And I say that under quotations, normal.
Right.
You know, it's
it.
not like it's a big deal, but if you're 8, 9 years old to like 12, 13, like, and you're reading all that stuff, like, it has a big impact on you.
Absolutely.
And like, I had paralyzing fear as a kid. I couldn't watch horror movies, nothing. And
I still can't watch horror movies.
Oh, I can.
You can now, huh?
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I got so sick of being afraid that I started doing it deliberately and then sitting up straight in my bed at night and go, like, come on, then. Come on, show yourself, do it. Oh. I just started confronting stuff that wasn't there. But just for my own psyche, I was like, I'm proving this to myself that there's nothing wrong with the world. I'm proving to myself that there's nothing to be afraid of. And it worked. And at one point, I just had a conversation with myself and I said, like, look, like, you can do two things. You can be frightened for the rest of your life, or you could just kind of, go out there, as a brave 13, 14-year-old that I was at the time, and just, just face it head on. And that's what I did. And after that, I kind of became, my mind started kind of like calming down to everything. And I started liking, being in the dark more, and I felt more energized at night. And I think that's also kind of where my recluseness comes from, because I'm a pretty big recluse. I like being on my own all the time.
Is it hard to be in the entertainment world? No, feeling like you kind of want to be alone, but you're in the entertainment world.
No, because I can take it for what it is, and I will say that I don't know if this is because I'm very introverted, or because I'm a recluse, or because I'm European and we have a different mentality, different way of thinking. Dutch people are different in general.
Yeah. I grew up in Spain, so I get it.
Well, very sober-minded.
Yeah.
And but I do sometimes feel that I have a disconnect communicating with people. It's just because I just don't always get it. And I don't know what it is that I'm not getting, but I feel that there's a disconnect between me and other people when I'm talking to them, or, some of my colleagues, and I never know where is that me? Is that them? Is that where I'm from? Is that how my mind works? Is that because I'm such and such? Is that,
because you're not feeling understood, or you don't understand them?
I don't feel understood. I feel there's always a distance. For as long as I can remember, I've always had an issue communicating, and not in the sense that I can't communicate. It's just like, I feel like I'm never understood, and I feel like I don't understand them. There's almost like a disconnect. I think that's the better word.
I have a feeling, because like I told you, like, especially when we met, I had no problem connecting with you.
Sure.
And right now, sitting with you, I feel completely comfortable. I also feel like I'm being completely open and embracing and non-judgmental.
Sure.
And, and I feel like maybe it could be, if you feel that judgment or something, it could make you stand off a little bit, where you don't feel like you can share. Could that be something like that?
Well, yeah, it's very hard to put on words, because it's not something tangible. It's not something I can say, like, okay, that's it. This is when that happens. Or like, I just feel that when I communicate with people, it's just a little harder. It's just like, like, I have anxiety, and I have like certain mental issues that I also sometimes think that like prevent me from having that connection that people have with each other. I feel sometimes like, when you watch cartoons and they can't figure out why the bomb doesn't explode, and they find that little wire this is why they put the wire in, and boom, everything explodes. Yeah. That's kind of how my brain feels sometimes. It's like, is that wire that's like not connected, and when it does get connected, it's like overload.
Right.
And I don't know what to do with myself.
Well, I have a feeling that has to do a lot with what you were subjected to so early.
Yeah, could very well be, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that is not, you just said it, like, the brain is so intricate.
Oh, yeah.
And to be subjected to that much at such a young age, which is why even, they've done studies for example, video games and all. Like, if you get subjected to really violent video games as a kid, your brain can't compute all of it. And it sometimes doesn't know what reality is to non-reality.
Well, I mean, even if you look at the world right now, if I see the way, like, especially with like the influx of social media, the way certain kids talk, like, I feel that the whole world's numb.
Yeah.
I feel that no one is sensitive to anything anymore. No one cares. And I think a large portion of that is because of social media, especially like these like younger kids that grew up with their main communication tool is with their phones or with their Instagrams or Facebook and Twitter instead of like conversing with a person.
Yes.
Like it does create a giant disconnect, and it's so far from home, so it doesn't hurt me, and I can just say whatever I want to say.
You've just said it. I can say whatever I want to say.
Yeah. There's no
How has that
repercussions.
affected you as your character and getting social media?
So my opinion on social media has changed quite a bit in the last 2-3 years, and I think for people that follow me, they see certain things that I've done where my social media is very strict to more of my character, and I've disabled comments on a lot of things because I'm like, why would the character that is Aleister Black care about comments or, certain things? It's just like, I don't feel that social media is very important to me as a human being anymore. I don't care about it as much more because people nowadays use it to deal damage, and it's become like a very negative thing.
Yeah, they hide behind their computers and say whatever they want.
Continuously. And I just wish that people realize that that is not real life, and that that part of your life that you're now feeling is not, you're not connecting with actual human beings is going to affect you later on in life. If you're a 13, 14-year-old and all you do is be behind your Facebook and look at things that aren't real, because a lot of people on social media aren't real.
No.
We're setting such a worse and like poor example for like these younger generation of what a life should be like, and everything is like all about jokes, all about bullying, all about harassing, and it's all funny because it's glorified.
Yeah.
Like it's almost, if you're not cynical, you're not one of the pack. If you're not like harmfully trying to embarrass someone else, you don't belong. Everyone's cynical. I feel that like that's what social media has done. It's made people extremely cynical, and I think my attitude towards social media has become way more that of like a disdain, because even if I look at Twitter, you put something out there and people will do whatever they want with it and take it out of context and just, give it a life of their own.
Yeah.
And without having a full backstory, without knowing what's going on, they're just going to go with whatever suits their needs and whatever they feel the perspective of that certain situation suits them the best, and they're going to present it as factual, which in my opinion is like the worst thing you can do, because how can you take something that you are not a part of, you don't understand, and just like fabricate something around it and present that as factual? Like that to me makes no sense. Like it's creating such a disconnect with the entire human race. And I've definitely stepped down my usage of social media, other than it being for my character. I very rarely will post something private. I very rarely will allow people in my private life, because that's the second thing. For a very long time now, I've felt that my private life has nothing to do with my social media. I don't want to have anything private on there, just because I don't feel like it belongs there.
Yeah, I get that.
It's not real.
Right.
Like if I put something on my social media that like comes into my private life, and people just take that out of context and think that because I put something there, like, that means he must be such and such, or he must do this and this, and I feel like, no. So why should I put it up there in the first place for you to create something out of that isn't real? That isn't what it's there for.
Well, it seems like your character would not be even having a personal life, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
So I have thought very long and hard about a lot of things where I'm like, I sometimes don't understand the reason why I would have social media. I understand that.
To begin with.
Yes.
Because I think kind of like, for example, Undertaker did not have social media.
Sure.
And I can understand that.
Yeah, and when I was Tommy End, obviously I was younger as well, and like, you kind of, I was one of the first generations I kind of grew up with social media. I was like 13, 14, 15, like the chat rooms started developing, and like you were in chat rooms and stuff like that, and just like as it progressed, it just got worse and worse. And the more I do with this character, the more I think like, why would he have social media in general? So I keep that very like minimal.
Yeah.
while still portraying what I think would be beneficial for the Aleister Black character.
I brought up Undertaker just now.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as like the modern version of Undertaker?
No.
No. All right.
I understand that people think that because there was a certain element of me that has maybe similar
the dark
buttons.
side.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But there was only one Undertaker, and I could never fill that void. And there's only one Aleister Black.
You're right.
And I'm the first one, and there's never going to be a second one. Like, the legacy that Undertaker has made is, I don't even know how to put it on the words.
Yeah.
Like, he changed the landscape. Is Undertaker indirectly responsible for Aleister Black? Sure, because he's opened the door for darker characters. He was the first one to really take it to that level and allowed an audience to see something that wasn't so clean and cut. And so...
was he a personal influence for you?
No. So, interestingly enough, I gravitated to him when I was older because I didn't grow up watching WWE. I was 16, I think, when I saw my first ever WWE pay-per-view. And I saw I wasn't aware of The Undertaker.
Really? Before that moment?
No. Yeah. I grew up watching New Japan Sports and WCW because that's what we had in Amsterdam.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I gravitated to him because I loved the aura that he presented. And I loved that there was a character that I could relate to.
Yeah.
But I would not say that I am the modern day version at one point in time in WB of The Undertaker. I am not. And I would also not feel comfortable saying that.
No, I totally understand. Totally understand. But I just wonder if he influenced at all. Like you just said, the darker.
There's definitely like I mean, darkness is darkness by definition, but darkness can be interpreted in many different ways.
Right.
So he was definitely one who opened that door and showed the entire world something different. Especially in the beginning of my WWE career, I would say like a different light, and that's kind of what he did. Mm-hmm. He brought a different light. It's just something that was different, something that wasn't seen before.
So you as a human being, just want to know who you are as a human being. How was school for you?
Terrible.
Terrible.
I hated school.
Yeah.
I was always anxious, always nervous, never fitted in. I wasn't necessarily bullied, but here we go, talking about that disconnect again. I don't understand these kids. I don't understand how they're going through life. My home situation was different, so I didn't understand the need for a Tommy Hilfiger, Gucci, and all that stuff. I didn't get it because we didn't have it. And
did you grow up poor?
So, yes, but did I ever notice it? No, because my parents always made sure that we had everything. I have a very hardworking father and a very hardworking mother who literally, my dad was someone who would get up at 5 in the morning, work till 4 in the afternoon, and then had a hobby that he made money with. And he would come home, he would have his meal, and he would have a drink, and it would float right into that, and trying to provide. My dad was a very hardworking man, so was my mother. Were we poor? Yeah, we were tight for money. Very tight
now
for
looking
money.
back,
Yeah, we were very tight for money. We didn't have new things. I couldn't buy the toys that I wanted to buy. But as gradually as I grew older, like it kind of got better. And but especially like in the earlier days, it was very tight, pretty tight. And mom, 3 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brothers?
Yeah,
sisters?
I've got an older brother and a younger sister.
You still tight with them?
Yeah. My brother and me have a very difficult relationship due to our childhood experiences. My brother is just a very different human being than I am. And if you would ever see us next to each other, you were like, you guys are related? we don't look like each other at all. We don't look like we're related. He's a anesthesiologist, and he does a lot of surgical stuff. And he's
so he does not have one tattoo, I'm sure.
He does not have one tattoo on him. He is a very hardworking individual. Takes up after my dad. I'd like to say that I take up after my mom more than I do my dad.
What was your mom like?
Sweetheart. mom. I funny enough, my friends always describe my mother as like, oh, she's a real mother. Like my mom was welcoming to everyone. There was a, despite not always having it, but there was a plate for dinner for everyone at the table.
Oh, that's great.
And my mom and dad were very polar opposites. For a long time, I was like, why are you guys together? I didn't get it. But mom is a sweetheart, but mom also definitely went through her traumatic moments growing up and brought that into the household, and difficult household of her own growing up with her parents, my grandma and grandfather, and this just a different generation. And like I said, sweetheart, but there were definitely moments in my childhood that I remember where mom was having a lot of issues with the way my dad was, or just like stuff from her family home.
Do you remember how that affected you?
Yeah, made me very sad.
Yeah.
Because this is always like a bit of a difficult part, because I never want to speak ill of anyone, and I will most certainly not speak ill of my parents, but there were definitely moments in my childhood that were not conventional and that caused traumatic experience, grief, very sadness. Even when I think about it, I find it hard to visualize it. And I was always like, especially with the way my dad was, I was happy when my mom was home. I wasn't happy when she was away. I was afraid, very afraid when she was away. And a lot of fear. And I feel that's where my anxiety comes from. A lot of fear. I always feel fear. Even like just in daily life, I feel fear. I'm frightened.
Even now?
Yes, I'm frightened a lot. And I feel that it's caused me a lot of obstacles. I feel that sometimes I need to climb a mountain that's twice as high as the person next to me. And that might be a very ignorant thing to say, because obviously I don't know what's going through their mind, but it seems that for a lot of people, coping with certain things goes easier than it does for me. My mechanics are just very different from the way I grew up in my childhood. And I remember a lot of fear. It's like being frightened, anxiety, sadness, anger, injustice. It's a lot of head-butting emotions.
I can understand that. Brian Kendrick, he was a guest, and he was talking about him and his father and how they just fought a lot, and he was abused from his dad and all of this, and how I remember him being here at one point before he'd got released. He was here, and he was very angry, and you could just see the way he was before to them when he came back. And he said, when I left, I handled and dealt with all of it and really had to dissect it. And, really, it is true. It affects you. All the time we see it, how we grow up, the things that we experience, whether it's bullied in school or, home life, how it ends up carrying, no matter how much we try, it carries over. Always. Yeah. So how do you handle it day by day then?
So I was about 12, 13 years old with my father. I got a complete emotional breakdown. My dad had a very interesting and very tricky childhood, and he carried that over into our family life. And my dad got into a depression for like 5 years. And that was, my dad grew up, for me, my dad was the Terminator. As I said, I had a lot of fear. A lot of fear came from me being afraid of my dad. And my dad never meant to. That's first and foremost. My dad never meant to.
No, he did the best he could.
Yes, and it was very difficult. And I get that, but it took me a while to get that.
Obviously.
But once I understood why he was the way he was, and I say was because he's no longer that way, it started getting better. Like when I understood the dynamics of what made my dad work the way he did, and just the anger issues that my father dealt with, for some reason it became easier for me, and my dad just made a 180, and he became a completely different person. And I often reference my dad as my best friend and my worst enemy, and that's true.
Well, because he had two sides.
Yes, and
it's understandable.
I love my dad very much, and he's a fantastic human being. But it took him a while to get there.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
He got there.
He got there.
That's the thing. He got there.
That's the main reason.
Some people don't ever turn around.
No. My dad is lovable, social, funny, intelligent, smart, creative guy, and he was just dealt a really bad bucket growing up, like a really bad one. And I think having kids kind of put him face to face with that, especially when we got older and we got more emotional. My dad couldn't handle it because my dad was brought up to not feel. My dad was brought up in a manner which, I don't feel comfortable talking about, but he grew up in a manner where he was told for the longest time that men are here to work, women are here to give birth, that's it. Men don't cry, men don't hug, men don't do anything. Men are not
programmed.
involved. Yes, it was very programmed. That's why I called him the Terminator for the longest time.
Yeah.
He was programmed to do one thing, and I feel that when he met my mom, because he already rebelled against that system.
Yeah.
Because he ran away from home when he was 15 because he couldn't deal with it.
Right.
He couldn't deal with what his parents wanted. And I often say that my character has references to the devil, and it's more in the sense of Paradise Lost, where you see everything from the perspective of the devil. And there's a poem, and I can't recite the poem, but the baseline of the poem is, when the devil fell from earth, what did he do? Did he create a new kingdom of fire and brimstone? Did he rebel against paradise? Did he become evil? Did he do all these things? Yes, but the first thing he did was cry because he lost his dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And a lot of people forget that there's a redeeming quality.
Yeah.
There's a story, and I find the stories behind these things always very interesting. And I feel that Aleister Black is a certain way because of how I went through life, and I implemented that into my character. There's something tragic about Aleister Black. There was something tragic about Tommy End, but Tommy End was more like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
F the system, and I'm fighting against the system, and not necessarily mature enough to understand why he was fighting the system, and Aleister Black understand why he fights the system. And I based that off how my dad grew up, and I based that off referencing the devil in the sense of, we all see him as this like evil guy, and oh my God, he did this and all that, and but he was someone's son at one point.
That is so wild that you bring this up, and I've never looked at that view, which is why I love, sometimes I love having conversations about religion too, because, I grew up Catholic, and I fell out of church for a long, long time. Yeah. And then my world was kind of spiraling downward, and I'll never forget, it was Molly Holly who said, hey, don't forget that God's always there for you. Sure. And so I was like, totally haven't been, attached to him at all. Yeah. And then when I started diving in again, I found comfort. And so for me, it's very comfortable. Sure. But I never judge anybody on whatever religion they want to experience. Sure. My sister and I are completely opposite. And I embrace that. But to me, obviously, I grew up with the devil's so evil, the devil this, the devil that, So I've grown up and been programmed to fear the devil, to fear all of that. So when you talk to me the way you're talking to me like that, I'm like, it opens up a whole new thing. What would you say to people like myself that have been so programmed, right, to be thinking one way with religion that, I'm being completely open-minded to hear the way that you're approaching things, but what would you say to people that maybe they will just throw hate your way because they think you're the devil?
And they do.
They do.
Well, so, one of the things that I always, there's people who practice and use religion, and then there's Google Christians, as I call them.
What is that?
And Google Christians will find anything on the internet that suits their needs and quotations that they can throw at you to tell you you're a bad person, which is very contradicting because obviously the lessons of Jesus Christ were not to judge anyone.
Right.
And that's even, I think it's somewhere in the Bible where, and don't quote me on it completely, where it's like, you shall not preach the way they preach in the synagogues, on the streets and all that stuff, basically saying like, you can't tell people how they should imply their religion. You can't be preaching in that space when it comes. You can't judge people.
Right.
So, and then there's people who use religion for comfort. And my grandfather, who was a huge influence in my life, and he was one of the people that showed me how I personally feel people should apply their religion to themselves. My grandfather was born in the 30s, and he was a soldier. He fought in 2 wars, and he was 21, I like to say, when he got to East India, because they were a Dutch colony at the time, and the East Indian colonies rebelled against the Dutch matriarchs and stuff like that. And he at one point sent me down, and because he sparked my interest in like paranormal stuff and occult stuff, because he told me stories about like, well, I'm raised Roman Catholic, but I've seen things in that forest that I can't explain. I've seen animals that I've never seen in books. I've seen what he would call entities that he was not familiar with, and he would tell me they were on patrol, and he just saw this like really weird creatures walking through the forest, and he's like,
wow,
what the hell are those? And then the natives would tell them, well, they're these like deities that we worship. And my grandma was like, oh, that doesn't, no.
Right.
And he would tell me stories about a magic that they called guna guna. And a lot of the soldiers there, they got like Indonesian girlfriends, and every time at 8 o'clock, they would just like, their stomachs would just like, and they would like cringe and like be in so much pain for like an hour on end. And doctors, everything, examination, they just couldn't find what was wrong with them. Turned out that they left their Indonesian girlfriends, but their Indonesian girlfriends plucked their hair and made a doll, and every night at 8 o'clock, they would jam a needle through their stomachs, a kind of voodoo almost. And they would have to, the military police would have to invade their houses, pick the dolls up, and
oh my gosh,
the dolls, yeah. And so for my grandfather, who was a Roman Catholic, devout Roman Catholic,
wow,
to see that and kind of go like, well, I guess I don't know the world as much as and I guess the world's bigger than this book. But my grandfather always said, this is how I believe. This is what works for me. This is where I find comfort. If I pass and it's different, then I'll go with what's different. But this right now, this works for me. I find peace and solace here. And when my grandmother passed, he went on almost like a pilgrimage, where he went to see all these like religious sites everywhere, and it brought him so much comfort. He passed 10 years after that. My grandmother passed, and he felt very fulfilled. And it was all because of his religion. I felt that was beautiful.
That is.
I am not a religious man myself at all.
So even though he found religion and all of that, because he was, you said like he influenced you a lot, but not on the religion side.
Not on the religion side.
Never. Like you never felt, okay.
No, I was very conflicted when it came to religion when I was younger, because I was always made believe that I was very fearful. You have to be afraid of, and like I became one of those, well, if you don't believe, then God's gonna get you and all that stuff.
So you were religious at one point.
I was raised religious, but I never questioned it. And I was 15 when I started questioning it. And I was like, this makes no sense to me. Like this to me does not feel like a loving God. This does not feel like this. And the more I started like developing those kind of thoughts, the more I started reading about it, and the more I read about it, the more I'm like, this makes no sense to me.
I see.
And then it became, like I said, I'm very skeptical. It became less tangible for me to have this like thing that people would call religion. I felt like a hypocrite for saying that I was religious, because I was not religious. And I remember I was 16, and I said well, if God made us in his equal, then if I don't believe in God, if I would pass, then he wouldn't judge me for it, because he meant for me to be this way.
Good point.
And nothing ever happened. And with all the stuff that happened in the world, I was always like, no, that this can't be the work of someone who watches over us. And again, like the longer I thought about it, the more, and this is with all due respect to people who are religious, because like this is just my personal view. I don't intend to, like for me, it sounded absurd at one point where, people used religion to basically get away with whatever they wanted to get away. And it became an excuse more than it became a peaceful crusade. It became an excuse to do bad things, because people felt so self-righteous calling out things in the name of, their God, and,
Well, that's what I think has happened, is that a lot of times religion has been twisted to whatever is convenient for whoever. You said that.
But the problem is no one questions it. Like, if you go back into even if you look at the world, there's so many world religions. There's so many religions in general.
Right.
And each and every person that has religion, feels that their God is just and that their story is right.
Not everybody. I don't feel like
Sure.
mine is the only God and the only
But for the majority of people,
yeah.
that's if you are a devout,
I adapt
Catholic,
it to what works for me.
Sure.
Again, and I don't. If you want to believe in Buddha, if you want to believe in whatever it is
Sure.
you want to believe or not believe,
sure.
that's what I tell people.
But
Be careful.
that's also more what I believe. There's like so many different religions. There's so many different types of gods that people worship, and each and every person that worships a set God feels that their God is the one that is going to be there for them after their passing or in their life, or And I find that whole behavior fascinating, because I don't have that. I don't understand that. I don't feel that way. I don't feel that like if there's one specific God, then how can there be so many different ones? And because there's religions that are way older than Christianity, that date back way further than Christianity. Even if we look at the Greek mythology, we call it mythology nowadays. But back in the days, that wasn't mythology. Back in the days, that was an actual religion. Norwegian mythology, we call it mythology, but it wasn't mythology. This was an actual belief system that people have. But now we look at it as like a mythology. Maybe in 200-300 years, we're looking back and go like, oh, this is what people believed back then. This is what we called the Christian mythology. So, everything is just...
Wow, you're going in deep.
Sometimes I get lost in the words as well.
No, but I hear you. I think for me, again, it's almost like I've had to do it in a way where it's just what's comfortable and what you just said, comfort, what comforts me. And sometimes
that's good.
I don't want to question it too much, because I don't want to go down a spiral where I go, oh my God, because there's only so much that I can handle. And I think that's where a lot of, where you're saying, I don't understand it. I think maybe that's what it is. That some people just go, I couldn't maybe handle the truth. Seriously, it's like, what movie that was, that Tom...
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth. Remember that?
But the truth will also set you free.
Yeah. There it is.
It is such a incredibly difficult, I wouldn't say discussion, but conversation to have, because I never mean to offend anyone.
No, you're not offending anyone.
I never do. And I'm sure there's people who are going to listen to this and this jerk off. He is, and I'm not. It's just this is
your
what,
point of view.
Yes, this is my point of view, and I'm not asking for anyone to agree with me. I'm asking for people to listen, and that is again when we talk about social media and disconnect. That's a very hard thing nowadays for people, is to listen, because we don't listen to each other anymore.
We don't. But that happens. Religion, politics,
everything,
fighting, just anything,
100%.
right? So, wrestling. How much has wrestling meant to you? How much did it mean to you to win the NXT Championship? What does this mean for you in your life?
This is life. This is all I've ever wanted to do. I was 14 when I told my history teacher that I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and she was the first ever person to take me serious.
Oh, wow.
She was my mentor at the time. Mrs. De Jong was her name.
God bless her. Oh, and I use God, sorry. Okay, just bless her.
And she was like, well, then if you feel that you need to do that, then go out there and try and make that happen. How can we make that happen for you?
I love that.
And it was funny for her to, because I think she kind of knew that school just wasn't for me. I was not a good student. I wasn't a good student because I didn't get it. I just didn't care. And that's I feel bad sometimes for my parents paying tuition and stuff like that. I did not care about it. I didn't, God, it sounds bad. But it's just, I was just not interested. Yeah, I didn't fit that mold. I didn't I hear you. Again, the disconnect, the way I grew up, what I was really interested in, it wasn't what I was being taught. And I tried my best, but I just could not. I could not sink my teeth into it.
You weren't into algebra? What the hell?
I like math for some weird reason.
Me too.
I like math. I wouldn't say I was great at it, but I liked it. I thought it was cool to like solve stuff, but it just never connected with me. And I remember like being awake in the middle of the night. It's like something 4 or 5 in the morning because I was trying to figure out the universe. I was asking questions in my head, and I was just like, and then I was like, oh shit, it's 5 o'clock. I need to go to sleep because I have to wake up at 8 because I have to go to school. And
wow.
It's like it just didn't resonate with me because nothing that I wanted to know or learn was being taught there.
Yeah.
Now, do I think school's a waste of time? I don't, because the way this society is, you're going to have to quote unquote fall in line and follow something for an education. I think education for a functional purpose is very needed. Do I think that you need to do it to the point that you're miserable? No.
Right.
But follow your heart.
It's funny because I always say, like, for me, the reason it worked out as far as college and all is because I had a dean that said, look, if you're going to do this, pick something that you absolutely love to do.
Yeah.
And pick that as your major, not because it's going to get you more money or your parents want it or anything like that. Yeah. So that was the best advice he gave me because he knew that I liked the entertainment world. So he said, okay, what about learning the backside? Like learn how to be the director and the producer and the editor and I'm telling you, that was the best advice. That's what I did. So now for Chasing Glory, like I'm executive producer, like I edit, so it's helped. And that's what I tell people.
That's why I studied sports and sports science.
There you go.
That's kind of what I did because I felt like it fell in line with professional wrestling.
Yes.
Because it gave me the tools to like learn about conditioning and stuff like that. And
perfect.
Movement science and stuff. And it was really fun. The educational system is a tricky one for me because it's like you can be anything that you want to be, but it's going to be in these categories. Yeah. Because like free will to that extent doesn't exist completely. Like no one can wake up one day and go like, I'm going to be exactly what I want to be. And it's always like, it's going to have to be influenced by certain things, which is, we all have to contribute to society in one way or the other. But sometimes if you think about that stuff too long, it can get depressing. Like I said, you can be anything you want it to be, but it's going to be picked out of these categories.
So going back to that question for you, when you got the opportunity to be NXT champion, after wanting wrestling and all, how'd that feel for you? Is it about the championships?
No. It's about the experience for me. It's about the whole. It's like getting the NXT championship was definitely. It was a victory. It was a victory of self. It was a victory over my mental state. It really was. And I wanted to make that victory about people with mental problems. I wanted people to know that, like, no matter how far you feel that you're sinking, you can still swim up. You can. Wow. And did it make things easier? No. It made me very happy when it happened, but it also like immediately my brain went into like, right, time to go to work, even harder than we did before. Like it never really slows me down. It never, like I'm never content, and that's sometimes good, but it's also sometimes very bad because it's also a big reason why the anxiety is there. Like I feel like I'm never good enough. I feel like I'm never doing enough. I feel like I'm never chipping in hard enough. I always feel like every single day, and like if people around me, that compliment me can atone for that because like I'll immediately backfire the compliment. I can't take a compliment. Like if someone says like, hey man, you did a really good job, I'm like, no, I gotta do better.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think this like strange need that I have to always self-improve, and sometimes to the point where it becomes toxic. Because I can't enjoy anything. Yeah. It's always like, no, that was good, gotta do better. And I will hammer myself down 20 times harder for the one little thing that I did wrong than the 50 things that I did fantastic.
And that's hard to live a life like that.
But that's also, I think, the life of an athlete. Yeah. For a lot of times, like
it's not even just an athlete. I get you because even when I'd be at ringside, if I'd mess up, my God, I'd be sitting there at ringside in my chair, beating myself up so bad. It didn't matter that 99% of my announcements were great.
That 1%.
That 1% that if I messed up, I get it. And then I started learning of like, relax, girl, chill out.
Be in the moment.
Stop
and
this.
Just like, don't. And like sometimes I get to that mental state, but I feel that in the WWE, it's always almost become like a self-defense program where I'm like, no, I don't want that. Because like the one place where I don't feel that I'm content is here.
Really?
The one place I don't want to feel that I'm like complacent is because that's what I fear, being complacent.
I think there's a difference, though. I think there's a way that you can celebrate. I always say now, celebrate the moments, celebrate those small steps. If you win championship, for right now, celebrate it.
Sure.
Tomorrow, you can think about, how am I going to keep this? What do I need to do to, make this title really mean something, or whatever. You can do that. But in the meantime, you got to just stop. I always say, just stop for the moment and just go, hell yes.
And that's what I tell other people.
But you can't do it
can't
yourself.
Do it myself. I can't. No, I can't.
All right. So is the goal WWE champion?
Yeah. But the goal is also to just always try to one-up myself. I think sometimes when people ask me the question, what has been like one of your favorite moments in your career? What's been a career-defining moment for you? I'm like, ask me when my career's done.
Yeah.
I can't give you an answer right now. So ask me on my deathbed and I'll tell you.
Right.
Because I literally wouldn't know.
Do you want the transition pretty soon to go to Raw or SmackDown?
No.
Not yet. Why?
And I know I want it to be what it needs to be. If I need to go up, then I'll go up. If they're like, I want you to stay here for a while, then I'll stay here for a while. I want it to be the best that I can be.
Wherever you are.
Yes, and I always feel that no matter how hard I train, try, and do, I'm not good enough. And that's a bit like what's the word I'm looking for?
Sabotage?
No.
Deprivation? No, I don't even know.
Well, I'm Dutch. Like I sometimes don't get all the words.
No, I get that. I speak English and I still don't get the words. Come on.
I don't know. Like I feel that I beat myself down sometimes so bad.
Is deprecating the word? I don't know.
Self-deprecating.
There we go. There we go.
We got it. There we go.
Got it.
Hell yeah. And that's what I do. Like there's like I said, I can be very toxic for myself, and I think that is one of the things that stems from how I grew up and like my experiences and like my heartaches, my traumas, kind of has caused me to have this like I'm never good enough, and I'm gonna be cynical always, even when it comes to myself.
Don't say always. Just don't.
Sure.
Just don't. Because you know what? You said it. Your dad changed.
Yeah.
Okay? It means you can change.
Sure.
Any one of us.
And I have changed because I went through a bad time, a very bad time, especially like ages 22 to like 28, 29. I had a conversation with one of my therapists, and she said, have you ever been happy? And it took me 10 minutes to answer that question. And I said, no. And I honestly could not count one singular time where I felt that I was happy for an authentic reason. I've been happy, but not authentically happy. And at that point, you have some revelations in your head going on. Some of your synapses start firing because like that is a big truth ball that you're giving yourself.
Yeah.
And
what'd you do to change that? Or have you?
I had to change myself. And I'm still trying to every day. And I had a lot of bad relationships, a lot of toxic relationships with people that I shouldn't have not been in a relationship with. I wasn't good for them and they weren't good for me. They tried to change me and I tried to rebel against them by doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And people that always tried to have me save them. And I can't even save myself. How do you want me to save you?
Right.
And, because like on the outside, people see this like, without trying to sound like I'm a very self-centered person, but they see this like powerful individual that's covered in tattoos and is a professional wrestler and has literally taken life by the throat and made something out of himself. And it's like, show me how to do that. I want to have what you have, but I can't,
Right.
because I'm a work in progress always. No matter how my aesthetic is to you, I am not what you think I am.
Yeah.
And that is a very difficult message to translate. I've had women that were so head over heels in love with me that they just completely lost all track of themselves, and I was like, this is not what I want, because now you're doing something that like is making me feel like, oh God, you've completely put yourself in my hands, and I'm not good. I'm not responsible with that. I felt for like I wasn't a good person. And there's been some growth over the last 3 years, and especially the last 4 or 5 months. I've had a big self-revelation, and really decided actively, after cutting up the last bad parts of myself, to become who I want to be. And that's going to take a lot of time. But for me to actively stand up and go like, no more. And that was a big part in a lot more happiness that I've recently experienced, because I allow myself, as opposed to always kicking myself down.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, because again, people in my past have always looked up for me to kind of like save them and take the wheel. I can't even take my own wheel. How do you want me to take your wheel?
Right.
And that's also not a good call by those people, but I understand that, like, certain aspects, certain insecurity, can give you this feeling of like like a false sense of like security for yourself. Or like, I've got this guy now, and like, this person's in my life now, and together but I need you to save you, because I can't save us both.
I hear you.
And there's no one in the world that's going to do it for you but you.
Right.
You can't rely on someone else. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to.
Do you love yourself?
No.
Not yet.
No. Oh, no, I don't.
Okay. But I love the fact that you're working on it.
Sure.
Because when you're open like that, you can definitely get through a lot of things. And it seems like you have already been working through a lot of things. And I feel like you will get to that point.
I hope so at one point.
Yeah.
I believe so that I will.
Good. That's where it starts.
It's better than it was yesterday and the day before that.
There you go.
The day before
Awesome.
that.
So as we wrap this up, which has been so intriguing, by the way, has your chase for glory looked the way that you thought it was going to look?
No, I always go into things not expecting anything, but I wasn't expecting this conversation at all, so that's a good thing, a very positive thing.
Oh, cool. Well, good. Thank you so much for being a part of Chasing Glory and for sharing. And I know it's not easy sometimes to be open, but I love the fact that you were, because I even got to understand you better. And now I am pulling for your character even more. But more than your character, I'm pulling for you.
Thank you.
I'm pulling for you because you really are special. There is a special man in there. And I want you to know that. Obviously, I wouldn't have even spent 2 seconds with you. Immediately I gravitated to you. Immediately I wanted to, do this interview. And I was like, which one from NXT? Boom, it was you. And so you do have that light in you. You do, even though you want to darken everything up. There is a light in you. And I'm just saying, just let it out, because you can influence so many people through it too, which I think will help you in the end, when you know that you're affecting so many other people's lives for a positive thing. All right? So just soak that in.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chasing Glory with Lillian Garcia.
And there you have it. That was so powerful because Aleister got very vulnerable. And because of that, he let us in, and I think that this, I know, is going to help somebody out there, if not multiple people that are out there that are trying to handle the opportunities that come their way and are trying to, live a life that is full of happiness. But sometimes things that have happened to us early on prevent that. And I love that he's continuing the work, and that he even said, I like myself better today than I did yesterday, and he's working on it continuously. This is a very talented person, and you can see that the things that affected him early on still are with him. But I love his soul. There's something about Aleister that I've been very attracted to from the very first time that I met him. Like I said, not only is he talented, but he really is a great soul. And I just, after this interview, man, I feel like I just pull for him even more. I'm sure you all will feel that same way. And I can't wait to see his continued success in the WWE and NXT and wherever he wants to take it from here, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. So, Alistair, best wishes to you in your continued journey for glory and also in your just continued journey in life, period. Whew, all right. I love these interviews. God, I love these interviews. All right. So please go ahead. If you feel like this will help somebody out there and you have somebody in mind, let them know. Share the show. I want you to text the link to them of the show so that they can hear it. Don't just let them know it's out there. Go ahead and copy the link and send it to them. That is the best way to help somebody get access to it right away. And just continue to spread the word about Chasing Glory. Thank you again for the 5-star ratings. Don't forget that on Saturdays, we do 5-star Saturdays where we post your reviews up on Instagram at Chasing Glory Podcasts. And I've also been posting some on my stories in my personal page at Lillian Garcia. So it's really cool to hear your reviews and how this is impacting your lives. So that's why I like to just spread the word. So thank you so much. And thank you to FabFitFun for definitely sponsoring the show and bringing you the show for free. Don't forget the promo code for that is fabfitfun.com. And the promo code is GLORY. Fabfitfun.com. Promo code GLORY to get your $10 off your box, which will only be $39.99 as opposed to $49.99. And then you get over $200 worth of product. There's the male box and there's the female box. So you can give some away for Christmas or you can get some for yourself or you can do both. So thank you to FabFitFun. Don't forget also to get in your request to cameo.com/Lillian Garcia. If you want me to send a personal birthday or a anniversary or anything you've got coming up for your loved ones or yourself. I've had messages that I've done for people themselves when they're like, I just need a pick-me-up. All right. You want a motivational message? Then I will send that to you. And that's what I have done. So make sure that you use the promo code for that. And from now until December 24th is Lillian20. And that's to get 20% off. And don't forget, Lillian is with one L in the middle. So Lilian 20, the number 20. All right. Until then, guys, I hope you have an amazing week. As we say, I've heard it said, which I absolutely love this. Make it a great day on purpose. Isn't that awesome? My husband uses that a lot. I always say, much peace, love, and passion, and always be yourself and trust that it's enough. Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us here on Chasing Glory from executive producer Lillian Garcia. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends and be sure to subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.